And good morning to you, Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy here. Good to see you on a Sunday morning. So, whenever we say it's a weather aware day, when you see that icon pop up, it doesn't happen all the time. It can come for multiple reasons. It can come for severe storms, chance for tornadoes, large hail. We did that the other day. And it also can come with bad air quality. We had one earlier this week because of that, but it also can come if you have intense heat. Now, a heat advisory, they pop up pretty often across the southeast, but the first one is always the most important one. That's because we sometimes can underestimate the power of what heat can do. And yesterday, quite hot. You probably noticed it. It was 93 degrees. That was the hottest day that we've had so far this year. It felt like 100 degrees. Well, today is going to be more in that danger zone. That's why we have a heat advisory across the area. So that goes until noon, or from noon until 8 p.m. And that pretty much is the I-85 corridor down to the south. So the National Weather Service that reports for Charlotte will give one of these if the heat advisory is anywhere between 105 and 109. Raleigh, theirs is similar, but they will do it if it's going to last in this range for a 2-hour period or longer. So I think we're going to be around that 105 range. But truly, it's the 103 range that I think that you really have to start to be weather aware, because that's where the body can really start to overexert itself. At this point, heat cramps and heat exhaustion are a little bit more likely, and these ones are not great. It's not heat stroke. Heat stroke is the most deadly, the most devastating one. That usually happens more likely when it's over 124 to 125. But I want one important fact to stick out here. Did you know that all air temperature that we factor in calculates what it feels like in the shade? So if you're in direct sunlight, that can make you feel up to 10 to 15 degrees warmer, which puts you deeper into this danger zone. So if you're in direct sunlight, overexerting yourself, feeling like over 100 degrees, that's where it becomes dangerous. So stay hydrated, try to stay out of the direct sunlight and heat if you can, and that's going to be the main name of the game. The reason why it feels kind of miserable is because of the dew points. You expect this time of year in July, that you're going to have very humid conditions, but it's been very tame through the month of June. And of course, as soon as July hits here, kapow, it is here. So we're going to be in that very muggy to very humid to even the yikes range. That's when you have a 75-degree dew point. And we're in that realm that I always like to say it's the air you can wear, the hair you can't wear. And today specifically, we're going weather aware for this. So the dew points are going to be high. The temperatures are going to be in the lower to the mid 90s. That means pretty much every day, at least over the next 4, are going to feel like 100 to 105 degrees. And the peak heating of the day usually settles in anywhere between about 2 and 5 o'clock. So I think that's where we're going to have our worst heat indices. But realistically, once you hit noon, you could be feeling like in this range. So stay cool, everyone. It's going to be a hot day today, the hottest that we've had so far. So 93 yesterday, as I mentioned. I have a high of 95 degrees across the greater Charlotte area, and then 97 in Lancaster and Shiraz. So those heat indices are going to be close to about 107 plus at its peak. Typically, this time in July, we're popping up 90 degrees mostly every day. So the 90s are not unusual, but also it's a friendly reminder too. If you have those pets, do the back of the hand trick for 7 seconds. If it's too hot for you, it's going to be too hot for your dog's paws. So me personally, we have Romeo at home. He is not going to be walking on that blacktop anytime in the afternoon. It's going to be the mornings and the evenings, the best time for that. Hottest days of 2023. It took a while to really get the hot engine going. 90 degrees the 27th and 26th. We were at 91 early June. We did that for the last day of June. And then, of course, the hottest was as soon as we hit July. And then it's July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd tomorrow that, interestingly, are the hottest days of the year. So we are starting off July in true July fashion. But also, whenever you have this heat and humidity building, it leads to storms. You probably heard Brad say this. I've said this a few times, maybe even just national news outlets, that we are currently part of a pattern called the Ring of Fire. That's right, like the Johnny Cash song. I fell into a burning ring of fire. So what this means is you have a high pressure system that churns around. It rotates clockwise, and then it's a big heat dome that's around that. So it's on the outer edges that you have storms that like to ride it. Sometimes they're called ridge riders. That's why you're seeing thunderstorm activity in the Northwest. That's why there's been a lot of activity. Well, with all this heat and humidity, it takes a while for the cap to break. Like a bottle of soda, you're shaking it up, shaking it up, shaking it up. And then eventually that cap comes off, and that's where the storms start to bubble up. But whenever you have a driving mechanism like a front or a trough, that can lead to a lot more activity. So I think that's what we're going to see a little bit later on. So I think it's along the I-40 corridor that we're going to have a best chance for this jazz. And our severe weather outlook has a low to a medium threat today and tomorrow, and it's back to a low for your 4th of July. This is not meaning the increase of coverage. There's a good chance a lot of us are staying dry today. The last couple of days, some of us probably didn't even see a storm. You might have heard it. Like at my house, physically, we had a quick downpour, some really mean thunder. So you also have the right environment that some of those can be almost the window rattlers for thunder wise. Same thing goes for today, but they're not going to be widespread. So whenever you have a rain chance 20 to 40, that means isolated to scattered because we're talking about all the counties that are outlined here. So I'm pegging that I think only about 40% of us in our WCNC viewing area are going to have a storm pop up. But notice where they mainly are. It's along the I-40 corridor and off towards the north. The further south you go, I still think the 485 loop around Huntersville, Northwest Charlotte, it's called Mountain Lake, could get a storm, I would say, right when the sun is setting. That was about the time that we saw a decent amount of them yesterday. It's that time of the day that really the storms finally break. They start to pop off. So I think it's anywhere from about 4 to 10 o'clock that's your best chance for a stronger thunderstorm. But any storm that forms could be a severe one. So keep that in mind. Now, the thing about tomorrow is I think the storms are going to be a little bit more widespread. I think that we have a better setup. You can see 4 p.m. tomorrow, they start to form in the mountains, and then they start to slip their way down towards the southeast. It's at that point that I think we have a better shot that more populated areas are going to see these storms. And then hit or miss, hit or miss. This is the Florida effect. And Mel Mack is nailing this here, by the way. Says, welcome to the South. The atmosphere is juicy, quote, 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 because it's this time of year. I love to call this the Florida effect, that it's 2 p.m. and you have that 20-30% chance for rain because that's when the atmosphere can form its storms on its own. But then we have the enhance of those ridge riders, that high pressure system that's riding these storms. It's just perfect situation. So I think most of the day, if you have any outdoor plans, you're fine. Stay cool. That's just going to be the current setup. And for your 4th of July itself, there will be another chance for storms, but most likely a lot of these are going to be getting out of here by the time the fireworks are going to be popping off. So you have your 9, 10, 11 o'clock time frame, depending where they are. I know a lot of my neighbors have been firing them off for the last few days, and you're probably going to be hearing that for a while. But there is a slight thunderstorm chance, but it is much higher before 9 p.m., so keep that in mind. For our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, it's July. It's the South. You can expect this. It's just going to be in the lower to the mid 90s. Each day is going to be humid. Each day will come with a chance for a pop-up shower and thunderstorm. So welcome to July, everybody. July wasted no time getting back in action. So as I mentioned, yesterday was the hottest day of the year. Today is going to take the title back. Tomorrow, very close to what we have today. So today is the only weather aware day because it looks like that's going to be the only day that's under a heat advisory, even though tomorrow is going to be pretty close. So stay safe, everybody. Good to see you. I'm going to be back on air here at 9 in for Brittany today. And it's great to be here on the weekends. Love you guys and make sure you have a wonderful day and enjoy it.